Hey YouTube, we are headed out right now for our morning chores. Today we've got to teach 4 baby goats to drink from a bottle. Okay, here are all our baby goats. Here in the right, well, obviously we've got the big girl there sooner. We're actually pulling her because she is being weaned, because she keeps nursing and her mom just keeps letting her, and it's past the time where she needs to be cut off. All the little ones in there are all bucklings that we're putting on a bottle so that they can be sold. And then over here are the 3 doelings that we're keeping and the buckling that we're keeping. So these all are staying dam raised. Excuse me, that's 2 doelings we're keeping, 1 buckling we're keeping, and 1 buckling that I feel like is too old to move to a bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and let his mom finish raising him. And there's a chicken. Random. Look at this cuteness. I hope they take a bottle easy. Let's check it out. Sometimes you might have to train a baby goat to a bottle because of choice. Like this guy is being sold, so I need him to learn to take a bottle so he can be off of his mom. Sometimes, however, it isn't really a choice. It's just by emergency. We had a doe that passed away really unexpectedly of hypocalcemia when she had 2 4-week-old bucklings that she was raising. And one of them took to a bottle just immediately. The other one, however, didn't. And it took a lot of time and a lot of persistence. And I actually ended up giving him to a friend of mine that had a little more goat experience than me. And she was able to get him on a bottle. And now he's completely healthy and he's grown up and weaned. Just some tips whenever you're trying to move him onto a bottle. Try different nipples. This is a Pritchard nipple that attaches to any sort of plastic bottle, but there are other kinds. You can get rubber nipples that go on top of glass bottles. You can use just a regular baby bottle. If they are completely rejecting one nipple, try another one. This guy is doing okay. This is his first time to ever have a bottle, and he is doing all right. Also, keep in mind, I mean, they're not used to having a few big servings of milk a day. They're used to grazing on their mom throughout the day. So you might have to start with less and feed them more often. Sometimes they do better when they're sitting on your lap. Sometimes they do better when they're standing up. I mean, keep in mind, if you've got a kid that has been dam raised for any time at all, they've only ever eaten standing up. Sometimes they just kind of chew, which is what he's doing, but he is swallowing the milk and he is opening his mouth. So I'm going to let him do that, and eventually he'll learn to suck. This guy's not going to have any problem. He immediately just began sucking. A lot of times you'll get one that's like, oh, milk, I like milk. No problem. That's a relief. It's always nice when you get an easy one. Occasionally you get one that just clamps down and grits their teeth and won't even open their mouth for you. It's good if you can hold their face like this up so they realize this is a nipple. This buckling is 10 days old, and he's only ever been on his mom. We're actually going to keep these kids in this stall with some water and some hay. That stuff they don't actually really need right now. It's mostly for practice. However, you do want to keep it where they have the option so they can learn to start eating hay. They are not old enough yet to really start on grain, but soon we'll start getting some grain in here, and we're just going to keep them separate from the herd. And as soon as they are firmly on bottles, I'll be selling all of these bucklings because these are all extra bucklings that we don't need. One of the other deciding factors for us to go ahead and pull these kids and start bottle feeding was the fact that Nestle here gotten a really lopsided udder because her little guy here is only eating on one side. Now, I've been milking the other side out morning and night, and it's helping a little bit, but I've decided to go ahead and pull him. If it had been a doeling that I wanted to let be dam raised that we were going to keep, I might have done something a little differently. However, I didn't want to keep him on her udder to mess it up, essentially, just to sell him in a few months, because he is related to my herd, and he's grade registered, and so he's not one that I need. And he is really sweet though. So I decided with him, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and put him on a bottle. That way I can milk her a few times a day, hopefully get her udder evened out. And then I thought, well, if I'm gonna go ahead and milk a few times a day, I might as well get rid of the other single buckling that I've got, and milk his mom a couple times a day. And then I've got these two that they were on their mom with a sister. It was a set of triplets. And so this silver guy here, he's actually going to a new home this week, and I figured might as well take the brother because I'm already doing all this work. So dam raising kids is definitely easier on the goat handler because the doe does all the work. If you allow a doe to raise her kids, that is if she will. Sometimes they'll reject them, especially if they have multiples. Our experience has always been to have good moms. I mean, this year we had 7 does kids, 6 of which were first fresheners, and they've all raised their kids just fine. However, the one drawback to having dam raised kids is if you are not intentional to handle the kids, you're going to have hard to handle goats. They'll end up being kind of wild, just because they're not used to human interaction. Now, we have been really intentional to handle our dam raised kids. Whenever our sons come out with us to the goat yard, we always let them pick them up. And so by the time they get to weaning age, they're really friendly. All of these I'm now moving into bottles, but this is their first bottle, and you can see they're all really comfortable with me, and that's because I've handled them a lot since they were born. One main tip to transitioning a baby goat to a bottle is be patient and remain calm. When you start to get frustrated, and it can be really frustrating when you're trying to get a goat to eat or getting covered in milk, they're just gritting their teeth, and you know how badly they need to eat. But remaining calm and being patient is so much more likely to be what they need in order to learn that this is okay. Like, for instance, this guy just clamped down on the bottle, kept his teeth closed for a good 4 or 5 minutes that he didn't suck at all, and then I just held it in place and held him and remained calm, and then, you know, the milk's trickling into his throat. He is getting some, but then at some point he just started to suck on the bottle. So just be persistent. Try different nipples. If one really isn't working, you can try different things. Make sure the milk is warm. I tried the first time and this had cooled off because he is one of the last ones, and he was really fighting. So Jeremiah went in and warmed the bottle back up, and he took it that time. So the temperature can really matter. How they're standing can really matter, or, you know, how you're holding them. Now it's time to milk all of these does, and today I'm milking by hand. We're working on getting an electrical outlet out here in our barn so we can use the milk machine that we got, but it isn't supported by an extension cord. So hand milking, here we go. All right, let's have a crash course in goat milking. Okay. A lot of people mistake milking and they think that what you do on the udders is pull down, which is actually not the case. You don't want to pull down because that's probably going to hurt your goat, probably not going to give you much milk. What you're actually doing is you're pinching the top of the udder like this to trap the milk in the teat, and then you're squeezing the milk out. It's best if you can do it in a rhythmic sense. I'm one that kind of just learns by seeing. If you're not getting anything, what you can do is kind of massage their udder a little bit. If you've ever seen a goat kid nurse, they headbutt the heck out of their mom. Obviously, she didn't think much of having the camera underneath her. She kicked it over, so sorry that lesson was cut short. Now I've got Polly on the stand. I've told you how to milk and how to get the milk to let down, but you might be wondering, when do I know when to stop? Okay, so you can see her udder still has just a little bit in it. So whenever I pinch off the top, it fills up. But eventually, it just stops filling up, and there's just not much left. You'll be able to tell whenever the udder is real soft and the milk just stops coming out. Mayhem is my quirky milker. I actually sit on the stand and milk her from behind, because whenever I milk stand trained her, she gave me a really hard time, and this is just what we figured out that worked. So now she won't let me sit next to her and milk her as you normally would from the side. We just finished milking, and hand milking 6 goats is really hard. It just it is physically hard because like I don't have the hand strength to do it, and they're all so new that they fight, and it's just like frustrating. So I am having to take a second because I just got really anxious, and like I'm just going to take this opportunity to be transparent, because farming is not always fun. Like, I wanted this for a really long time. Like, since I was a little girl, I wanted to have a little farm. I dreamed about it for most of my life, since I can remember. And, you know, I spent 10 years before, you know, in my adulthood, before we were here, reading books. I mean, every book that was released about homesteading, you know, between about the years of 2004 and 2014 when we moved in here, I read them, all of them. And like, I was obsessed. It's all I could think about. I used to just cry because it felt so impossible. And now I'm just being honest, like, I thank God that I went through that, because there are times like this morning when I'm like being kicked by goats and covered in milk and completely filthy and frustrated, and it hurts. My, you know, my hands, my arms hurt, they're cramping up, and I'm trying to make it work. That the only thing that keeps me like dead set on making it work is the fact that I know how badly I wanted it. Because there are a lot of times when you go through loss, there are times when you go through you know, frustration, when the work is just physically exhausting, when you're tired. I mean, I'm about to go in and bust my butt for my farmer's market booth this evening, and when I get home from farmer's market, I'm gonna have to bring these goats back out and milk them, and it's just like there's not enough time, there's not enough energy, but somehow when you're persistent it works out, and then you reap this great reward, and so it's worth it. But man, sometimes it's hard. Hey Goofy dog, you decided to come home? Dakota has been a wandering. I think we're about to get him fixed because I think he has a lady friend in the neighborhood. I just came in the house, and Michaela was cooking a bunch of chicken eggs that we're gonna give to our chickens. We have a bunch of broody hens right now, and we went out of town this last weekend, and while we were gone, some of our family did not get the eggs from under the broody hens, and then whenever the eggs were gathered, they all got mixed up, and so there were some eggs among the 100 and something that we had that had sat under a broody hen for like 3 or 4 days, which is enough for them to start developing. So I didn't feel comfortable selling any of the eggs because I didn't want one of my farmers market clients to crack open an egg and have a nice veiny membrane inside. I know that freaks me out, and I keep chickens. So what we decided to do was go ahead and crack all of them and cook them to feed back to the chickens. It's actually just added protein. It helps, it benefits them, it alleviates our food bill. We just throw it in with their fermented grains, and so we've got this big bowl here, and actually we still have more to cook. So here are the shells. She saved all of these, so I'm going to take these down and crunch them up and put them around my tomatoes and eggplants, which will leach calcium into the soil, and it will also be a deterrent for slugs because they won't want to travel over the sharp edges of the eggshells. I am going to take those eggshells down to my garden, but first I'm going to get the chickens' food ready so Jeremiah can take it out to the coops. We're currently kind of experimenting on what we want to do as far as our grain mixture to ferment for our chickens. What we're doing now is a mixture of wheat, oats, millet, sunflower seeds, some corn, and so far it seems to be working okay. However, we are supplementing with a lot of stuff other than grain. For instance, we feed all of our leftovers for our chickens, all of our chicken scraps. We're fermenting extra goat's milk with kefir grains. Like today, we cooked all these eggs, and I actually have a source for meat that we cook extra meat and throw in our chicken food also. So what I do every morning is I bring a 5-gallon bucket into my kitchen, and I just go through and figure out what can we feed to our chickens today. Hey, farm boy. What's Iron Man doing?
His special attack. Hey, Ben, ready?
Oh my gosh.
He came up with it.
We ferment our feed in 5-gallon buckets. We just put the measure of grain in, cover it with water, and every day we come out and just stir it or kind of kick it. We already have stirred these and added more water to keep them covered. As you can see, they're kind of bubbling a little bit. And actually, like this one has a kefir grain in here that I put in to kind of speed the fermentation process along. Kefir grains multiply whenever you're using them to ferment milk, and so we end up with lots of extras, and so I just throw them in here and the chickens get to eat them along with their feed. Heading down to the garden, I'm going to distribute these eggshells amongst my plants. Looks like we'll be harvesting radishes here pretty soon. I don't think they could get a little bit bigger, but some of them are getting really close. We were gone for 2 days this weekend and pretty busy the rest of the time, and it rained a good deal, and our garden exploded. It is crazy how much it can grow with just a little bit of rain and a couple of days. Check out these tomato plants. They're huge. Here's a really neat tomato variety. If you can see, the skin is already starting to turn just a little bit purple. Those are actually called Black Beauty tomatoes. They're bred by Wild Boar Farms, which you can buy the seeds directly from him or on Baker Creek, rareseeds.com. And this is the type of tomato that has the highest levels of anthocyanin, which I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong. But they are, that's very antioxidant rich, and these actually turn real purple and they blacken as they ripen, and they're like the darkest tomato variety that is currently produced. They're really cool, and I'm really excited about them. I'm just going to take these eggshells and crunch them up really good, and I'm just going to sprinkle them around the base of these plants.